If you've been following this channel, you know that once in a while, I love to peek at the entire AMC movement saga, where it stands. I mean, I see it as a very interesting psychological story, a very interesting David versus Goliath scene that's occurring on the stock market. And unfortunately, there was a dagger that was put into AMC stock investors by AMC management, not even by short sellers. It was by AMC management. What am I talking about? Well, they announced a capital raising, which would immediately allow them to raise 25 million share offering on a reverse split adjusted basis. It would also allow them the right to issue 550 million common stock and 50 million preferred stock. Also, the entire ape conversion is absolutely decimating the price. And at this point, the price is so low that it would take a MOAS just to bring a bunch of the retail investors to break even. The stock would have to rise about 4,000%, I think, to even break even at the highest that AMC stock was selling. And so this basically ends the play. The play is dead. AMC stock is not going to squeeze because the entire thesis behind it squeezing is that retail owns all the shares. They're not going to sell the shares. And then eventually the shorts will not be able to afford their short position and will have to cover at a major loss, bringing the price even higher. Even though this would just be a game of which retail investor is willing to sell first, there's no way that everyone would get rich off of it. A lot of the hypotheses behind the AMC stock squeeze was a bunch of nonsense, a lot of conspiracy theories that were perpetuated by a lot of YouTubers that were riding the YouTube algorithm and have recently just hopped off the bandwagon, moved on to other content. There's been others that deleted their channels, and yet others that continue to put out content still telling people that there's going to be a squeeze, which is so ridiculous because that's just charlatan shill-like behavior. And that's not short sellers, that's not even AMC management, that's scumbags riding the YouTube algorithm hoping that they're going to get that check mark, hit 100, 200K like a lot of the other AMC YouTubers during the pandemic. They rose to fame and then they peaced out, bounced, and are now doing other things and run successful channels, which good for them because we're all playing a game. Whether you're in the AMC movement, whether you're in business, whether you're in the stock market, it's all a game. I don't care if people are wearing suits. It's all a game. Some people play by the rules. Some people manipulate the rules. Some people get lucky in a game. Some people make the rules work for them. And certainly the rich don't play by the same rules. And one of those people is Adam Aron, who completely backstabbed the AMC holders. He was always saying that he's the silverback of the gorillas in the AMC apes, and then he went ahead, he cashed out multiple times, he made ridiculous excuses for it, and it's just been such an interesting sociological, psychological play that I have been following it. Now, I put out a bunch of content that was kind of against the thesis that a lot of these AMC retail investors had, but this isn't a video about me gloating or anything like that. What I really want to touch upon is the fact that yes, short sellers are rejoicing. Short sellers won here, but we have to talk about the humanity of the movement, the human element. Because me personally, I started investing at 19 years old. I made some horrible decisions when I started out and I lost a lot of money. I know what it's like to lose money, especially when you're starting out, especially when you don't have a lot. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life. I have put a lot of time, effort, and money into certain projects that went belly up. And I know that feeling of loss, that feeling of failure, that feeling of rejection. It's absolutely terrible and it hurts a lot and it leads to a lot of mental anguish. It leads to a lot of hurt relationships. It leads to a lot of bad decision making. And remember, a lot of people, they have vices, they have crutches, they have past addictions, they have past exes that they shouldn't go to. We all have vices, and at times like this, like for the retail investor, and I would argue most of them got into the stock market during the pandemic with the government stimulus checks. They had a little bit extra, and you couldn't go wrong during the pandemic. So anything you were investing in, it went high. They believed that the squeeze was going to occur, and it did for GME and AMC in the very beginning. But then these clowns on YouTube were convincing everyone that there's going to be a MOAS, and people just believed blindly all the conspiracy theories. It was a little bit cringy, a little bit cult-like, but let's remember that they all went into it for the right reasons, right? They wanted to expose all the corruption that's occurring on the stock market, the really unethical plays that the hedge funds are engaging in as they're shorting these companies that are struggling as is. They are trying to profit off of their demise, and a lot of naked shorting that's occurring. This is all real, but a lot of the predictions and the thesis statements behind the play was so ridiculous. I made videos about it. A lot of others did as well, explaining why it's just not going to work out. However, the people that went in, they went in with mostly good intentions. Obviously, some were greedy themselves and they just went in to make a bunch of loot off of the hedge funds and then bounce. Others actually wanted to expose corruption. But the reality is the retail movement lost. AMC apes are out a lot of money, and AMC stock is probably just going to sink lower and lower. And so is the morale, so is the feelings of anxiety and depression and a lot of mental health issues that arise from this stuff you don't hear about. Because remember, people that are losing, that take a big loss, they are embarrassed by it too, and a lot of times they don't vocalize it. And God forbid something even more terrible occurs than a little bit depression, anxiety, where this can really lead to death and people losing lives and people being really, really reckless and hurting their well-being. And that's the reality of it. When you lose, when you fail, it hurts greatly. And so in this video, especially if you're an AMC ape watching this, I just want to say, remember that time heals all. The fact that, yes, you might not make any money, you might have lost a bunch of money, you might have put yourself in a hole, you might have extended yourself and paid a lot more than you should to go ahead and buy these shares because you believed in the movement. Trust me, if you zoom out, it's just money. Don't just watch your portfolio, watch your mental health, your relationships, your friendships, your mental sanity is so much more important than just losing some money on some play. Learn from this. If you hang around long enough, you can eventually squeeze out a profit. And that is the real squeeze. It's hanging around long enough, learning from your mistakes, continuing to learn, making the right investments, and eventually you do come out on top. Again, when I was 19, 20, I made some bad investments. Over the pandemic, I made a bunch of loot. And over the past decade, I've done very well on the stock market. Do I always get it right? Absolutely not. But I learned how to be wise, how to manage the portfolio, how not to take too much risk, how not to invest more than I can afford to lose in some of the risky plays. And trust me, I still lose from time to time and I know how it feels, but I also know friends that are close to me that were heavy into the AMC movement, and that's why I followed it so closely. And they lost a lot of money and they're mad depressed right now. And it hurts me to the core that AMC management, Adam Aron, I mean, these guys are laughing their way to the bank. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's ruthless, but it's the world. And again, this is a game. Everything in this life mostly is a game. So make sure you can differentiate between what's a game and what really matters, which again, your friendships, your relationships with others and with yourself, your mental health. This is so much more important than money. So if you're out a bunch of money, I feel for you. This is not a video where I am picking an ape while they're down. It's just to say I know that you went into it with good intentions, and I know that now, more likely than not, you're going to come out with pennies on the dollar, but it doesn't mean that in the future you won't make it back, whether it's a stock market, whether it's the business world, whether it's an entrepreneurship pursuit, whatever it is. I'm just letting you know time does heal all, because I was there like the rest of you. I've been down financially in my life, if you hang around long enough, you get the grit, you take the negative emotions, you put it into your motivational gas tank and just get inspired to crush it. Because the reality is money is a really important tool in this life. If you have money, you get to play the game by much different rules. Everything is in your favor. Problems, real problems in life become a mere inconvenience. You can solve a lot with money, but you just have to be smart and wise about how to acquire it. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching this video in its entirety. If you're an ape, hang in there. It's gonna get better. Definitely learn from this movement. Learn from any mistakes you feel you may have made, and learn as much as you can about the stock market, about investing, about portfolio management, and that'll pay dividends in the future, literally and figuratively. And also, most of you that are AMC apes, and I've talked to a lot, you're young, and that's good, which means time is on your side. So with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching this video. Stay tuned for more stock market content, but also I've switched over to AI. I've been putting out a lot of AI tutorials, and I just put a lot of stuff that are hobbies, passions of mine on this channel. So for those that are following my journey, I appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next video.